Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at the mind-blowing new edition of Warhammer 40,000. That's right, 10th edition is officially here. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Yes, that's right, a totally new edition of the world's biggest tabletop wargame is here. This means amazing new models, awesome new rules, and big changes to the galaxy of the 41st millennia.
Warhammer 40,000 is the world's most popular tabletop miniatures game. Players command armies of genetically enhanced super soldiers, brutal monsters, powerful aliens, and destructive war machines to play out spectacular battles in the 41st millennium.
Our mantra with this new edition has been streamlining.
We've been listening to the community, and that's a large part of why we've decided to focus the game as much as possible.
How can we keep the tactical depth and richness that players love, but examine every rule in the game? Does this need to be here, or is there another way that we can achieve the same result?
To secure victory, you must understand your strengths and the strengths of your enemy.
We've fundamentally changed the datasheets from the ground up,
making them much more accessible and really focusing the rules onto the datasheet themselves. What the team's been able to do with this is really look at every unit in the game, make sure it has a really clear battlefield role and a thing for it to do, and then write the right rules for it.
Your datasheet rules all fit on a single card, and your army rules will fit on a single page.
One of the things we wanted to ensure was that everyone got to play 40k as soon as possible after the edition was launched. So to make that happen, all of the rules for everyone's armies via the datasheets and their army rules will be available for free.
From the darkness between the stars, a twisted mockery of evolution spawns fresh horrors.
It's a galaxy at war. This is the onset of what the Imperium will regard as the Fourth Tyrannic War. This is the largest Tyranid swarm ever recognised in the galaxy, emerging where no one's expected it. The Segmentum Pacificus.
To be a warrior of the Emperor in such times is to face an array of nightmares.
What we've managed to achieve with this edition is a game that players of Warhammer 40,000 will love for its tactical depth and choices, but is streamlined and plays much quicker.
The end result is faster, while still keeping all the flavour that you've come to love in Warhammer 40,000.
For players who've been with Warhammer 40,000 for the last 35 years, they've never seen anything like this before. We've never shown conflict at this scale.
Immersive and thrilling new gameplay. Discover a major new narrative in the Fourth Tyrannic War. The new edition of Warhammer 40,000 deploys this summer.
So I just want to comment on a couple of things about the new edition. I think it's awesome that they are doing free rules for every faction right off the bat. I think they have really listened to the community on a lot of the points that we have made about simplifying the game. So not only do you have to know your own army, but it could be extremely difficult to know your opponent's army as well. So simplifying it down to like 6 stratagems and a single page of your faction abilities, very, very cool. Definitely a big fan of that. So the game itself, there are some big changes to gameplay, which has been completely overhauled for this edition. We started with what the fans were telling us about the game you play. You told us that while Warhammer 40,000 is a fun game, there are parts that are overcomplicated, and that the learning curve for new players is pretty steep. In particular, many felt that there were too many stratagems and too much complexity in army selection. We've listened, and now the new edition has been simplified, but it's not simple. I like that. I really like the way they put that too. It's been simplified, but it's not simple. Perfect. This is still the rich, deep wargame that you know and love. We've just doubled down on the best bits. So instead of a huge raft of faction stratagems, you'll have access to a handful of the best ones. There's also a few new universal stratagems which anyone can use that allow you to be reactive in your opponent's turn. There are improvements like this everywhere, in turn structure, army selection, morale, terrain, missions, the ways in which characters interact with units, and more. This list goes on, and we'll explain more about each of these changes in the coming weeks. So I really like this. Once again, the same way that we saw a lot of the improvements that made Kill Team so great come from Warcry. It looks like a lot of the stuff that they're taking into 40k to make it better, they're taking over from Sigmar. So I got to give it to them for taking what works and then spreading it out. So what does this mean for my army and my codex? Maybe the biggest change in the new edition is the data sheets. The way core information on a datasheet is represented has changed, and with it we took the opportunity to restat every unit in the Warhammer 40,000. Every unit has new and reevaluated rules, so every army will feel new from day one of the new edition. Very, very cool. I like it. This huge update has also given us the opportunity to look again at the lethality and durability across the entire game and rebalance it at a stroke, something we could never do outside the launch of a new edition. This example will show you what we mean. So we have movement 6 for the termagants, toughness 3, we'll notice there's no strength characteristic. Save is 5+, wound is 1, leadership is 8+, and OC is 2. So then we have the ranged weapons, and it's the 3 different ranged weapons available to them. Flesh Borer, Spine Fists, and Devourer. And we see Flesh Borer still has the Assault keyword. Spine Fist has Assault, Pistol, and Twin Linked keywords, and Devourer has none. And then we see the range, 18, 12, 18. We see the attacks. I like that. It's actually on the gun, just under attacks. 1, 2, 2. Ballistic skill, 4+. Strength is 5, 3, 4. So we see instead of having an actual strength character on the model, you just have the strength of the weapons. So AP, we notice, back down to 0 on all the weapons and damage 1. I think that is a welcome change. And then for the melee weapon, we have Xenos Claws and Teeth. Range melee, attacks 1, weapon skill 4+, strength 3, AP 0, damage 1. And then if we just go over to the abilities, we see Faction, Synapse, and then we see Skulking Horrors. Once per turn, when an enemy unit ends a normal, advance, or fallback move within 9 of this unit, if this unit is not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units, it can make a normal move up to a D6. So again, we see the redeploy stratagem from Sigmar being implemented in 40k, but instead of spending a command point to do this, you're just going to be able to do it once the criteria are met, just based off of their abilities. So very, very cool. I really like this. And once again, I have been talking about how the war scrolls for Sigmar are great, and it appears that they're going to be bringing war scrolls like this to 40k as well. So I honestly have to say, it sounds like Games Workshop is really listening, really making the changes we want, and I don't think I've been this hyped for a new edition ever. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch, and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now, back to the video. You also told us that you didn't want to carry as many books with you to games. On the first day of the new edition, the rules for every datasheet in 40k will be free to download, or available to buy as convenient and portable card decks. Even your faction and army rules now take up just a couple of pages. I mean, so that's amazing. So let's break down that statement. On the first day of the new edition, the rules for every datasheet in 40k will be free to download. So if you play multiple armies, you will have everything right off the bat. And then also they will be available to buy as convenient and portable card decks. And that's like the War Scroll cards for Sigmar. So if you have like 5 units in your whole army, but there's 60 for your faction, you don't have to have a book with all 60 of the rules in there. You just have the 5 unit war scrolls that you need. And even your faction and army rules now take up just a couple of pages. So absolutely beautiful. Your faction and army rules on like 1 or 2 pages, including your stratagems, and you have a few war scrolls for your units. All the rules are free, so there's less of a drawback for playing multiple armies. Everything sounds great. Honestly, it sounds amazing. Now, I don't see anything in there about being able to still buy codexes. So I don't know if this is the end of codexes, but it does say the rules for every datasheet in 40k will be free to download or available to buy as convenient and portable card decks. So I'm assuming they're not going to get rid of codexes altogether, but that you could just get everything you need from the codex for free, which I like that because I do enjoy having actual books and reading them, the lore, and having physical copies. The whole experience is more convenient, compact, and efficient than ever before. And it delivers amazing games with less desperate leafing between pages looking for that one special rule. So it really sounds like Games Workshop has listened, taken in all of the feedback, and is making positive changes. I love it. Army selection is equally straightforward. Pick a faction, a warlord, and the units you would like. Just no more than 3 of any one type, and stay within your points limit. That's it. So let's break that down. Pick a faction, a warlord, and the units you like. No more than 3 of any one type, and there is a star, so maybe troops still, and stay within your points limits. So it's basically like the Arcs of Omen detachment, but with all the restrictions removed, it sounds like. So you basically are just picking a warlord, a faction, and then just whatever you want within the points, with a max of 3 per unit. I love it. You no longer have to fit your army into a force organization chart or compromise on the army you really want. It's a simple and liberating system and opens the door to all kinds of fun, thematic, or unusual armies. These big changes to rules and armies mean that the current range of codexes are being retired. The rules in them don't work with the new edition. But remember, the rules for all your units will be available for free online at launch. So that is kind of a shame. Now we have until summer till the new edition comes out, so you'll get plenty of time with your existing codexes. But it sounds like unless you want them for collecting or reading or lore, there's very little reason left to buy them for rules, knowing that those rules have an expiration date on them. So that is nice of them to give us a heads up on that. Don't go throwing your codex in the recycling just yet. As well as months of gaming left with the current edition, your codexes remain a rich repository of lore and inspiration on your army, and one that won't be immediately replaced. Codexes will return in time to replace the free rules, but when they do, the complexity of the game won't increase, thanks to one in one out ethos for army and subfaction rules. Effectively, you will only ever need your unit datasheets, the 2 pages of rules that govern your chosen army, available in your codex, on cards, or digitally, plus the core rules and whatever missions you're playing. So you're only ever going to need datasheets, 2 pages of rules, definitely not 1-page rules, 2 pages of rules, and those rules are available in your codex, on cards, or digitally. Plus you'll need the core rules, which they've also said are free, and then whatever missions you're playing. So really cool. I love it. It sounds awesome. There's one exception to note. The Arcs of Omen books and boarding patrols will persist, so you can keep purging those Space Hulks into the new edition and beyond. Likewise, for those Eternal Crusaders out there who have built up a mighty host through their narrative games and want to bring their Crusade army with them into the new edition, there are rules to let you do this. Combat Patrol, a brand new way to play. As well as continuing support for Crusade and Match Play, the new edition will introduce a brand new way to play the game, Combat Patrol. This version is designed to be easy to collect and easy to play. Combat Patrol pitches small preset and balanced forces against each other, with armies made of Combat Patrol boxes. So I am curious how they're doing that. They're going to have to seriously rework this stuff, because there are, like for instance, the Votann Combat Patrol with the rules increases is like 750 points or something like that, depending how you equip it. And there's a couple other Combat Patrols where you like struggle to get 500. So I don't know if it will be balanced within the actual units, or if it will be balanced as in you don't get to use all of your units. Either way could be cool, as long as it's balanced. And I did pay attention to this, and there is actually only 20 Combat Patrols shown right here. So if you're like me and you've been waiting on that World Eaters Combat Patrol and then you don't see it here, don't get scared. There's actually a couple other ones that are left off. Adeptus Custodes not on here. Black Templars. There's a few other ones that I noticed as well. The simplified version of Warhammer 40,000 that's perfect for beginners, but also means that anyone starting a new force has a game they can begin to play very quickly, without having to build and paint 2,000 points of troops before a dice is even rolled. It's also great for hobby butterflies who hop from one project to the next and prefer to sample a little of each army nectar. The summer will be an incredibly exciting time in Warhammer 40,000 fan. There's so much more to say. From tomorrow, we will begin taking an in-depth look at all the major changes and faction rules, exclusive here on Warhammer Community, as well as investigating the units in the absolutely stacked launch box. So the fact that they say this is going to be the best box ever, the Indominus box was really, really good. And that was the launch box for 9th edition. So if it's going to be even remotely as good or better than that launch box, it really is going to be absolutely amazing. So yeah, obviously there's a ton here, and we'll be with you right along the way to update you and go through everything. Let me know what you guys think down below. Are you excited for me? Does it seem like this is all positive changes? It honestly feels like I wrote down on a note card all the things Games Workshop needed to do to fix 40k, and then they just did all that. So that is absolutely amazing. I'm sure there's some things that I never even thought of that they're going to fix and make even better as well. So let me know what you're most excited about. I think I'm really excited for the new Terminators, but honestly, the new Tyranids look amazing as well. I can't wait to get my hands on them. I can't wait to play the new game. I love that they're giving away the new rules. I love that they're simplifying everything. Honestly, I just love Warhammer. So special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring this video. Check them out to save 15%. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and I am already in love with Warhammer 40k 10th edition. And I'm out of here.